Hello, I'm Jay Hirsch, Director of Administration of Columbia's ERM program. I'd like to invite you to tonight's event, our featured alumni series. Throughout the event, you may post any questions you have using the Q&A feature at the bottom of the screen. Questions will be addressed at the end of the event. I'd like to let you know about some upcoming events that you may be interested in. On select Thursdays throughout the fall, we have our Exploring the Power of Mindfulness seminars. On Fridays, we have our Coding for Risk Management seminars. And for the next 3 Fridays, we also have our ERM Risk Movie Matinees. On Saturdays, we have both our IQRM seminars and our Intro to Finance seminars. September 28th is our Think Sell workshop. On October 11th, we have a panel on how good are your risk disclosures. On November 11th is our CRO Spotlight series. And on December 5th, we have a panel on managing credit portfolios in the current volatile environment. For more information on all of these events, go to the events link on the SPS ERM program website. And now I'd like to introduce Bob Kostakopoulos, Deputy Program Director and Lecturer, who will provide opening remarks. Bob?
Thank you, Jay. Welcome, everyone. As you know, the ERM program's panel discussions are webinars, webinars that are co-curricular activities. Today's webinar is unique because the panelists and the moderator are alums. As a result, it is an inspiring webinar for our students. Without further ado, I invite moderator Tanima Narang to the podium. Tanima.
Thank you, Jay, and thank you, Bob, for the introduction. I'm Tanima, currently in my last semester of the ERM program. In the summer, I interned at PwC and will be joining them full-time as a risk consultant in January in the financial crimes unit. As you can see in the slide, I have a diverse professional background. I studied law with a minor in business while doing some legal internships. And then I taught English in Japan for a while. I moved back to India during the COVID period, where I worked at a hearing aid brand company. And now I'm here completing my master's in ERM, and I'm very happy to be here. Today, we have a great group of accomplished individuals who are alumni of our ERM program, and they'll be answering some questions that will cover various aspects of the program and navigating life here at Columbia. Without further delay, I'd like to introduce our panel. First, we have Stuti Churiwala. Stuti, could you please say a few lines and introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Stuti Churiwala. Really excited to be back, even though virtually, and speak to all of you. I graduated from the ERM program in August 2020. So in the midst of the pandemic, and I also graduated top 5 for my semester. I'm currently a manager at Ernst & Young in the technology consulting division, and my primary focus is to provide risk, compliance, and middle office outsourcing solutions to wealth and asset management clients. Prior to the ERM program, I also worked at Goldman Sachs in the asset management division for about 6 years, where I did multiple operational roles. And yeah, I also had the opportunity to be a teaching associate with Professor Bob for one of the semesters for strategic risk. So really excited to be speaking to you all today and look forward to our discussion.
Thank you, Stuti. And next, we have Yuna Deng. Hi, Yuna. Could you introduce yourself as well?
Hi, everyone. My name is Yuna. I'm very glad to be here today, joined with our fellow alumni in the panel, as well as everyone who's here to learn more about the ERM program. And a little bit about myself. I did my undergrad in finance back in Canada. I did a small business venture startup after I graduated, but I eventually decided I wanted to pivot into risk management, as there were a lot of things that happened a little unforeseen in my business, and I really wanted to learn more about risk. So while at the program, I was actively part of the Columbia Risk Management Club and worked as a event team director. I think the ERM program really got me through the toughest part during COVID, and I managed to graduate February this year. And also as a top 5 student. Currently, I am working full-time at T-Mobile as a senior analyst on our enterprise risk management team. And I'm also an assistant lecturer for the value-based ERM this semester.
Thanks a lot, Yuna. And lastly, Yihan Zhang. Could you introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, thank you, Tanima. So my name is Yihan. I'm currently working as an analyst at Goldman Sachs in Global Compliance Division, focusing on reviewing transactions and reporting high-risk transactions to the regulatory bodies and to look at different risk areas to address those risks to protect the firm from any reputational risk. I graduated in ERMs in summer 2020, also as a top 5 student. And I was a former teaching associate at external stakeholder requirements. I also self-studied CFA and CPA exams to explore the financial industry. Very happy to be on this panel to address any questions that you may have and to meet with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. We're also very happy to have all of you here. And now to begin the discussion, the first question I have, Stuti, could you take this one away, is can you start with telling us about the courses you took in the ERM program that you found to be most rewarding and most applicable to your current role? And why do you think so?
Yep, sure, Tanima. So one of my favorite classes during the ERM program was the strategic communication class. And obviously, like I'm a consultant right now full-time, and a lot of my job is really communicating and convincing my clients that what we're proposing is actually the best solution. So a lot of the skills that I learned in that class are really directly applicable, and they've helped me be a better communicator. So that was one of my favorites. But in terms of risk-related courses, strategic risk management and operational risk management were 2 very helpful courses that I'm able to directly use, in my current role in providing those, creating frameworks and providing the solutions to my clients. So those would be my top 3.
Yeah, I agree. I also really enjoyed operational risk. I feel like that was very helpful in my summer internship too. And what about you, Yuna? What do you think about the courses?
Wow, hearing you guys talk about it makes me feel like I missed out on operational risk because I didn't take it. But I would say my favorite class was by far value-based ERM and by extension Capstone, because Capstone also embodies all the concepts we learn in value-based and turns it into a semester-long project. So I guess what I love about value-based is it's the foundation of the program. And it's not surprising that many of the companies that we look at, they don't have a comprehensive risk framework that works on an enterprise level. And I think the program director, Sim, is the best at delivering his material. And if you already had a chance to, talk to him or taken any of his other classes like strategic communication, you would know he's a great storyteller, which makes all of his classes so much more amazing to take. And I would say my favorite memories from Columbia would be sitting in a Zoom call with my Capstone team, working on our value-based models for days on end, and then the excitement we finally get when we have a breakthrough, and we're so proud to show our professors what we've done.
Yeah, absolutely. Strategic communication was definitely a course that I still look back on, and I think it's something that we'll probably use forever. What about you, Yihan? I know we covered up a few, but is there any course that stood out for you?
Yeah, so for me, I would say the courses that I really enjoy is the financial risk management. That is also a risk category course in ERM program. I think in this course you can learn the different aspects in financial risks, including market risk, credit risk, and liquidity risk. And there are also examples from those examples and the cases for those different risk area that is very helpful for you to understand better of those. And And I think it is also helpful for you to understand like which area you want to focus on, like ultimately in your career, especially if you want to work in a financial institution. And those risk areas also applicable to different financial institutions like commercial bank, investment funds, and insurers, etc. And there's another course that is similar to this one, is the Frm Practice. This is very interesting as well, and it covers more advanced cases in financial risk management that if I remember correctly, you have the opportunity to hear from different industry professionals from investment banks and also private equity firms with positions like risk manager, traders, and you have the opportunity as a student to ask questions. This is a very important learning opportunity that for you to really want to get hands-on experience from the industry professionals. And there are more advanced financial risk topics that's covered, including like risk hedging for derivative products, how a trading floor manage their market risk limit. And there's also asset liability management for fixed income products, and leverage finance that is very helpful for private equity modelings. And it just like, you can learn more than just the course material coverage by asking more questions to those industry professionals, especially for people who have limited risk management relevant work experience, who want to like break into this industry. Like those projects that you did in this course is very helpful for you to include in your resume or in a showcase to your future employers. So I really enjoy those courses.
Thanks a lot. That was so detailed. I really hope that our audience is taking note, because this can be very useful, especially for the prospective students who are there in the audience. Now, for the next question, Yuna, let's start with you. Can you discuss how the risk management knowledge and skills you gained during your ERM masters helped you become a successful new hire, or deepen your expertise as an experienced professional in your current role?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually took a little bit of an unorthodox path. You know how everyone does usually a summer internship during the summer and then look for full-time job after graduation. I kind of was applying to both summer internships and full-time jobs during the summer, and I luckily landed on a full-time job at T-Mobile, which is where I currently still work at. And it's actually really rare from now that I'm in the company to see that there's not that many people with an enterprise risk management background. So in most corporations, people move from, say, internal audit, fraud, financial compliance into enterprise risk management, and they bring in absolute invaluable assets, but what they lack is a education in enterprise management, and they lack a enterprise-wide view of risks. So what I bring to the table and what made me stand out as a great candidate for my team was that I came in with a view of risk that was much needed to build out our enterprise risk team and bring it to the point where our analysis would be useful in decision-making at the leadership level. And I guess especially another skill that was really useful that we learned in risk management was communication skills, which is absolute pivotal skill to have. You're basically always at an ERM role, you're basically always in constant meetings with high-level stakeholders, VPs, SVPs, and you're expected to be able to build rapport and relationships with all your stakeholders. So a lot of it is interviewing and seeing how you would communicate during your interviews.
Right. Yeah. I absolutely agree that ERM is something that's becoming so useful, and people just don't have that background, and I definitely feel more valuable. What about you, Stuti? Would you like to add something?
Yep, I actually have a great example of, one of my initial projects at EY when I started off was to create a risk framework for a client. It happened to be like an operational risk framework, and I had just taken the operational risk course. So a lot of the framework elements, right, like, what are your risk controls? What are your testing schedules? What should your KRIs be? Every little thing that we were putting in that framework was something I had learned in the class. And that really gave me an edge and helped me stand out from my team because, you know, everything that my partner mentioned, I kind of knew about it, or I was able to quickly act on it and, you know, produce some results for my clients. So the fact that I could like really lift and shift so much that I learned in class for an actual client deliverable was like great, and definitely really helped me, you know, stand out in the project and, you know, succeed in my career after that. So I do feel like, you know, some of the things we learn in these classes, because they come from professors who are, you know, who also have day jobs and are actually in the industry, are very relatable and very, you know, lift and shiftable to some of the things that you'll be doing in the future. So definitely pay attention, and you never know when things will come handy.
I actually had a similar experience. I was doing operational risk just this last spring. And in my summer internship, my first day, the team that I was working with were telling me about the project. And, you know, they brought up concepts like first line of defense, second line of defense, RCSA, and most of the interns didn't really know. And then the partner of our team was like, wait, stop. Do the interns even know about this? And then I was able to raise my hand and, you know, tell them my understanding. And it was a good moment. I was really happy. So thank you for your answers. Now, the next one, I would like Yihan to begin. My question is, what were the methods and resources that you made use of that helped you land your job?
Yeah, thank you for asking. I think there are several points that I can talk about for this question. Like, first of all, this is very important. It's networking. Like, you can conduct informational interviews with the alumni and talking to industry professionals of the industry that you're interested in, like either financial institution or like tech company or any other industries that you particularly have the interest. There are also like ERM professors. Those are very experienced in their industries. Those are very good resources to talk with. And also you can seeking referrals from your connections, either personal connections or professional connections. There are also events that you can join. For example, the Career Design Lab, they have those interesting networking events that you can meet with people. They also have resume reviews and the career coaching sessions. There are also, if I remember, that there was a campus hire opportunity as well when I was still in Columbia from industry leading employers. So those are all great resources that you can make use of. Especially the, you know, talking to your professors. Those are, you know, not limited to the course material that you're studying. Like many of them have over 20 years of industry experience and hold a really senior level in their firm or business. I think those industry insights that they can provide can be very helpful for you to explore your career.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I hope the audience is making note because there's so much useful information being shared here. Stuti and Yuna, would you guys want to, you know, share your ideas for this as well? Stuti?
Yeah, I want to actually echo what Yihan said about networking. We don't realize this, but it's actually very, very important. Like, I think from today, you should start like networking with everyone you know within the program or people you know within, like, you know, the New York area or even within the United States if you aspire to work here. But yeah, like, you know, you'll be surprised actually to see how many people are actually open to just having a phone call or a cup of coffee with you. You know, sometimes I think we just hesitate, you know, reaching out to someone on LinkedIn or even like reaching out to a friend's friend or something. But many people are actually pretty nice, open, and willing to even have that conversation with you. So just start networking. It's never too early. It's never too late. But I think networking can actually get you your next job.
Thanks. Yuna, would you like to add something?
Wow, you guys, I think you guys said everything. I would just like to say I agree with everything you guys said.
Okay. One more program that I think is something that's relevant I could mention here. Last year, the Career Design Lab began a new program in conjunction with the American Language Program, ALP, which is a month-long program which is for international students, which happens this summer before they begin. And I happened to actually enroll in that last year. And they, as an international student, they really introduced me to how the US job market is and what are the important things you should focus on as soon as you arrive on campus, like how to tailor your resume as per the US job requirements and those sort of things, which mentally prepared me. So yeah, if any of the audience is interested in that, just keep a lookout. You will get it in your emails. Now, thank you for sharing your ideas. Now, my next question is, let's start with Stuti. What were some of the most significant challenges you faced while trying to land your first role at the end of this ERM degree?
Yep, sure. So one of the biggest challenges for me was the pandemic. So I graduated in the summer of 2020. We were in the midst of, COVID, pretty much in full swing. A lot of companies were not really hiring. So my biggest challenge was, just figuring out which company is going to hire and which company is even going to be open to talking to the international student as well. Because, the first challenge was obviously finding a company that hires, and then obviously being an international student, your options are also limited. That being said, I just feel like you need to be persistent and not give up. So like I said in my previous answer, I was just reaching out to people I knew over here and just not letting the pandemic kind of stop me. So, that time it was a pandemic. Now it could be different things like the inflation and stuff like that, but don't let these macroeconomic or these social things stop you from reaching out and just trying to get what you want.
Yeah, that was definitely, a challenging time. So kudos to you for going through that. Now, what about Yihan? What do you think? What were some challenges that you faced while trying to land your job?
Yeah, I think Stuti mentioned those are the key points. That I'm an international student as well. There are short timeline for job application, and also given the nature of the program, that is not several years for you to explore slowly or taking your time. So I think to add to Stuti's points, that it's never give up. That is very important. No matter it's in pandemic or economic recession or going through hiring freeze, the current markets, you should never give up if you really need a job and you really want to work in the area that you're interested in. And also don't be discouraged by the market situation. Be proactive. That's very important as well. I agree with her that, you really need to speak up of what you wanted to do. And otherwise people won't know that what you want to do, and you might lose some of the opportunities that you might not even recognize. And as we have a short timeline, it's very important to be mindful of the hiring timeline. For your target company or so, you have to know when do they open for their fall recruiting event or spring recruiting event, or any of the ad hoc hiring, or any lateral hire, depends on your background. So it's really your job to be mindful of this timeline. And also, in order to follow the timeline, you need to have a good time management skill to balance your coursework and job search, because it's very important as a student, it's very important for you to keep a high GPA, otherwise nothing else will happen. So do well in your coursework, learn from your colleagues, and also balance your time to do your job search. And also for your own homework, that you should know your immigration and work status clearly to avoid submitting any documents or deadlines, to apply for a social security number or anything. Make sure those are not challenges or stop you from getting hired. And if this is really challenging, that you just can't get any documents done, or any circumstances that you can't control of the work status, think differently and seek alternatives to maintain your status here, or explore other locations, because there are multinational corporations, they have business and operations, different locations. So if you just really can't be hired right away, right here, think of other places that can also be helpful for you to start from there and to gain your work experience. And then you can maybe transfer or something else after that. So this could be helpful as well. And if you like exhausted your options, you run out of hiring or opportunities, you should be open to volunteer work as well in the relevant field that you want to work in, and open to short-term arrangements, project works to get yourself started. So that's what I would suggest.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to reiterate the point you made about, balancing your schoolwork and making sure you take out time to also focus on job search. What about you, Yuna? Do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I would say the challenges I faced are a little bit different because I'm not an international student and I'm also a slightly indecisive person. So coming to the program, I saw there were a lot of courses I could take. There's financial risk management, cyber risk, operational risk, and the value base is like enterprise risk management. And I had a really hard time deciding on which field I wanted to focus on and which field I wanted to get into. So I chose a pretty good array of courses that represented potential areas of interest for myself. And I kind of just really studied the fields every time I took a course, and I understood where the prof is coming from, his background, if there were any guest speakers, get to talk with them to see how their day-to-day is. If I want to do I want to work as their colleague? Do I want to work in an environment like that? So I really took the time to decide for myself which path I wanted to take within risk management, because risk management is a super broad umbrella. And I think I'm really happy with where I ended up. And it is basically the career I want to pursue. And also, I think it's never too early to start applying. I know there's timelines for things, but you never know if there's an opportunity that slips through the cracks. So always be proactively on the lookout to whether connect with someone or to apply for a job. Just always be ready.
Yeah, I completely agree. We have such a short time here. If it's full time, it ends in 1.5 years. So you definitely don't want to think that it's okay to wait, because certain industries end their application processes pretty early and you don't want to miss out on that. So yeah, thank you to you guys for these ideas. I would also add that for international students, as Yihan also mentioned, it's really important to be aware what your visa requirements are, if you need to apply for your CPT, OPT, what the timeline for that is, because it's really your responsibility and it's something that is required by the US government. So you really want to make sure you're on top of all of that. So let's move on to the next question. Yuna, could you begin this? The question is, can you discuss how you best leveraged the ERM Masters for career growth and advancement within your institution?
Yeah, I guess I do have the most recent experience for this. So I had only recently got a promotion at work last month, and I think there are a couple things that made me stand out for this promotion. One is the projects that I'm working on in addition to my day-to-day responsibilities. One of the projects is to create an enterprise risk framework for our risk reporting so we can better aggregate all types of risks from audit, fraud, compliance under one roof. And then another one is a more of a solo project, but also value add is I'm recreating the value-based model to move the needle at our company to a more quantitative risk management or risk assessment process over our current qualitative one. So these are really projects that made me stand out from the rest, as well as I always work hardest on taking on extra responsibilities in our existing risk management process.
Right. Firstly, congratulations on your promotion. And Yihan and Stuti, do you guys have anything you'd like to add to this? about how you best leveraged the master's?
Yeah, I think having the ERM master's degree shows, first of all, that you're interested in this field and you take actions to learn and improve yourself, which makes you somehow more attractive and competitive for the job that you want to apply for. That's how employer view you. And having this program completed, you have the credential and proofs of the above. I mean, if you were previously in another field, but decided to switch to a risk management field, this program can be a bridge for you for your transition in your career path. And if you previously have a similar background in risk management, this program can be a great complement to your previous degree or work experience. Or for example, if you study finance in your bachelor's and now you got a master's in financial risk management, those are great complements, you know, that make you also slightly having the edge that for people only have one focus, that you might do the work duties like more holistically, you know, applying your knowledge and skills in a different angle and perspective, and those could be very helpful for your job.
Okay, great. Thank you for those insights. And I'll move on to the next question, which is, let's start with Stuti. Can you talk about the hiring trends you're seeing at your institution within the risk management space and the core skill set that makes a candidate more valuable to your organization?
Yep, sure. So again, I work at EY, and EY is always hiring, I would say. And especially like the enterprise risk team within EY, and even some of the other like, you know, compliance teams within EY are definitely hiring currently. The best way to apply would be using the career portal. You know, the career portal has the latest job postings for specifically campus jobs. So if a job is live on the campus portal, like definitely that's something that, you know, if you apply for, your resume will be looked at. In terms of skill sets, I would say, you know, obviously if you're applying to a company like EY, like communication is going to be key, because in most of your interviews, you know, in addition to some of the core skill sets that you would have listed in your resume, they're going to look at how you speak and how you're going to present yourself. So communication is going to be like the most important. In addition to that, I mean, obviously, you know, when they see a background of Columbia and then the ERM degree, you know, that kind of speaks for itself. So they are going to make you validate things that you've written on your resume. So another tip or another thing that I would tell everyone is whatever you put on your resume, make sure you can give examples, or you can kind of, you know, back it up, because companies are like, they do this day in and day out. So they're very easily able to figure out if, you know, what you're putting on your resume is actually true and factual or not. So those would be the 2-3 main things I think I would say. But yeah, like EY is hiring. So, you know, I'm sure like as you guys think of graduating, do, you know, look at our career portal and feel free to apply.
Okay, thank you. I hope everybody looking at EY and just generally consulting heard that. What about Yihan? What do you think about your institution, Goldman Sachs?
Yeah, so I work in compliance division as part of risk management as well. It's considered second line of defense in my firm, and there are also a risk division that is also second line of defense, and those are separate divisions that has like slightly different requirements and the target candidate that they're looking at. But in general, the hiring trend is as EY is always hiring, because the firm as a financial institution that is Fed regulated is putting more and more weight on the risk management to control the institutional risk. So this is definitely like either compliance or risk management. Those are really growing their hiring needs and the other headcounts. So feel free to apply. And you know, there are different ways, you know, not limited to submitting a resume online. I know like for the summer analyst, summer associate, and you know, those online application, those are very competitive. But there are also other ways, like I mentioned before, you can networking with people, as looking for referrals, talking to industry professionals. Like you never know, like in what way that you can land a job ultimately. So from my observation in compliance division, we do more qualitative works, and we set up policies and procedures. We protect the firm from having reputational risk, and we make sure our business lines like IVD and the GMD, like all of those, like to comply with the laws and regulations of the local area. And speaking of risk division, it is slightly more quantitative, and I think it's helpful for students at this stage, to learn kind of a statistical package, or having one or two coding language they might be able to use to build their models, and more importantly, understand the risk models and the risk management tools. Like for example, they might expect you to really understand well of the business area that you want to apply to. Like if you want to work in like market risk, do you know the value at risk well? Like, do you know how to build a model, and do you know what your model means? And also, like, there are like, do you understand if you want to work in like fixed income products, like in our firm, like the FYCC, like, do you understand what is duration, what is convexity, like a DV01 hedge? Like, what are those risk management tools that is specifically applicable to fixed income? And there are also, like, if you want to work in, you want to set risk limit for trading floor, like, do you understand the option Greeks, like for the derivative products? Like, what is futures, what is forward contracts, and what is the currency, what is the CDS, like what is the swap that you can use to protect your positions and exposures? So all of those, that is very important to think of, that, because if you want to manage their risk, like, you have to understand what they're doing, and you have to apply your independent judgment, like what they're doing wrong, so that, you can communicate with them and to protect the firm. So those are what I think is very important.
Right. And Yihan, let's say somebody doesn't have prior work experience, or they don't have experience in risk before. What advice would you give those students?
This is a good question. I think a lot of the points that all of us talk about can be applicable to this point as well. Like, as a student, you want to, no matter what course you take, you want to maintain a high GPA. That is the key for everything else. And also, I think the most important thing other than that is to get an internship, in the relevant field. Because if you lack of this, that's definitely the most urgent thing that you want to add to your resume, that you want to show to your employer that, hey, I do have some sort of relevant experience to apply. That shows you are that shows that you are serious to stepping into this industry. And that's the most important thing that employer want to see on your resume, and that should be highlighted in your the top section as well. And also the volunteer work, like if you don't have internships, you have hard time, or it's challenging to find an internship at this time, and you need a job immediately, then you should consider volunteer work. And there are like apprenticeship in Goldman as well, like like alternative type of like mini internships type of stuff that you can also do, to get yourself to market yourself closer to this area. And there's short-term roles to consider, networking, to talk to the industry professionals who have more experience than you, to learn from them. That because like, don't just listen to your one or two people's advice, learn from different people's with different perspectives, and to get a better idea of what is the most helpful for you at this stage to expand your risk management related experience. And you can also catch up with your mentors, and CDL, the career design lab, is also very helpful to seek advice from career coach, to help you to have a better chance to find a position. Oh,
Okay.
and yeah, like I mentioned before, for the Frm Practice, you learn from the industry professionals, and the course projects that you might do, like around 10 projects that you might do. Is an intensive class, but it's very helpful. If you really run out of internship, volunteer opportunities, you can at least put your course projects, that you did. Those are very relevant to financial risk, and those can be helpful to include it in your resume as well.
Okay, thank you for that. And I also just want to add to the students, as we're talking about a lot of different topics, there are certain organizations like the ISSO who you can reach out to for issues with visas. And then we have the Career Design Lab, which is also called the CDL, who you can reach out to for issues of resume polishing, interview skills, job fairs, internships, and the academic advisors that all students have. We're all of us have an academic advisor assigned to us, and we can reach out to them for any information. And as Yihan was talking about how internships are a really great way to get experience for somebody who doesn't have prior experience. I do have work experience, but I didn't have any risk experience. And I spoke to my academic advisors. I reached out to the CDL advisors, and I spoke to my professors, and everyone really suggested that I try to get an internship, which thankfully I did, and now I have a job. So yeah, that was great advice. Thank you, Yihan. We are getting a lot of questions from the audience. I will just ask one more question before we jump to those. What do you think, what's some advice that you would give our students to get the most out of their experience here at Columbia? It could even include fun stuff. Let's begin with Yuna.
Fun stuff. I guess this is fun for me. So not to toot my own horns, but while I was at Columbia, I was the event team director for our Columbia Risk Management Club. So my suggestion would be to join a student club. That would be a great way to experience campus life, find more people who share the same passion, who you guys could help each other. If you wanted to do interview or mock interviews, you could do it with your friends, you could do it with a club member. You could also leverage club resources to find more networking, going into the less fun territories, but there are a lot of fun events you could host. So I think in general, joining a student club of your own choice would be my #1 recommendation.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've been very active in the clubs. I was in the student government. As soon as I came in my first semester, like, how can I get involved? That's a great way to network and meet people who are also doing different courses, and just expand your group of friends and network. What about Yihan? What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Yuna. Joining different student clubs, those are definitely interesting to do.
Stuti, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I would say attend all these events that happen on campus. Like, I know some of the events are still virtual now, but like I'm sure there are going to be a lot of in-person events as well. And don't limit yourself just to the ERM program, right? So like SPS has about, 12 different courses. So, even meeting people from the other programs will give you a different perspective, and you can share ideas about, okay, is there something that they are doing that you can kind of leverage as well? So I definitely say that in addition to your class and your program people, try and meet people from the other programs, and the best way to do it is events that happen on campus.
I guess one more thing, completely outside of campus life, I would say it would be a lot of people's first time in New York on the Columbia campus, and they also haven't explored the city as much. Don't forget that our student ID allows you to go to museums for free. So you can learn a lot from going to a lot of the greater museums in New York and, enjoy the city that way.
Thanks for that point, Ashley. I feel like we all would have, the rest of us would have missed it. I was actually going to also try to take part in the competitions that are going on. Every spring, there's the Greater Good Challenge, and I participated in it every fall. I'm sorry. And I participated in the competition last fall. It just gave me an opportunity to create a team. I worked with people who, I didn't really know. This was my first semester. We reached out to professors to ask for their advice. We were creating a proposal. We came up with this new business idea. We reached out to mentors even outside of Columbia. And it just gave us a lot of insight into what's going on. How do you create a business? It was outside of our actual ERM program, but honestly, it was fun. I learned so much. And I feel like I even made connections with the professors and that group. We didn't win, but we're friends now. Okay, so let's move to the audience questions. My first question is, what were the discussions like? What were the discussions like in the courses for the program?
Yeah, I can take a stab at it. So in terms of like discussions, I think the classroom environment was pretty nice, I would say. In the beginning, maybe my first few classes, people were a little more reserved to ask questions, but then as we warmed up to the professors and to the fellow classmates, people got a lot more comfortable raising their hands, answering the questions. I think the class participation aspect that most of the classes have really helped with that, right? Like when you ask a question, you get like a ticket or you get a point or something like that. So that definitely helps. We had a lot of guest speakers in many of our courses, like at least for one class. So that was great because it got, again, it helped you get a perspective from someone who's actually practicing something in their real day-to-day life. So, those kind of resulted in meaningful discussions. And then I guess each class has a group activity element of it or a group project. So that way you're forced to kind of, team up with people you've never met before or you've never spoken to before. And, actually, I don't know, text them, meet them outside your class and sit with them in a library and kind of ideate with them. So I think that was a really interesting experience for me because I got to meet so many new people who I don't think I would have otherwise just maybe gone and met. So yeah, those would be my top few experiences.
Yeah, I think at the point that the participation to the classes, like almost most of the courses is very important because that's going to be a large part of your final grade for most of the classes. And also the teamwork is very important because you will do like for some courses, you can do 10 team projects with 10 different teams. Like you can really meet your colleagues who's also very knowledgeable, and you can learn from each other. And you have to communicate with them well to get the group project done. And also the professors, they are really nice. They really encourage you to ask questions. The interactions with your colleagues, interaction with your professors, those are very important. It's at this stage, at the master's level, especially in this program that I witnessed, it's more than just course material or getting the input, reading from the books. It's really some input and some output. You have to discuss with your colleagues and to show them that what you learned and what are you able to deliver. So yeah.
Yeah, I think, I agree with your points. And the first semester was, of course, the most exciting because it's our first semester at Columbia University. We're feeling a bit nervous and excited. But as Ihan and Stuti pointed out, that the professors are really nice and the atmosphere is very comfortable. You are encouraged to ask questions, and it's, in my opinion, best that you get the most clarity. I think you'll never feel like your question is dumb. I've asked so many questions. I mean, I'm also the one asking questions here. So I'm clearly just comfortable asking questions. And I never, ever felt like I shouldn't have asked a question. So yeah, it's great. And there's a lot of group work, which really helps you make friends and learn from each other. There's peer learning. So it's great that way. Yuna, is there anything you'd like to add to this now that you're back?
Yeah, sorry about that. I
No.
mean, what is a Zoom meeting without at least one technical issue, right? Oh, I think you guys covered a lot of what I wanted to say. I have nothing more to add.
So let's pick another question from the audience. Somebody, an international student, has asked us, what motivated you as an international student to study ERM with Columbia University?
A very practical answer is obviously, I wanted to do a master's, which will help me advance my career. And I was very interested in risk. And that's why I chose like the enterprise risk management degree. But the reason I chose Columbia is obviously that brand name is going to go with you forever. Like it's an Ivy League institution. It's a great conversation starter with your colleagues, etc. So that was one of the biggest things. Obviously, our faculty profiles are, very great. Like I've said before, like, there are people who are actually from the industry. So the knowledge that they'll share with you is very like real. And then the last thing is, as an international student, the fact that this program is a STEM eligible program was definitely a motivator, because in addition to that 1 year of OPT that you'd get in any master's degree, this gives you those 2 additional STEM years. So yeah, like I said, from very practical experience, you have to think about these things. So that was also like the final icing on the cake for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yihan, Yuna, anybody want to add something?
Yeah, I totally agree with Judy. The 2 important points, the reputation of the school and the program, and also the STEM eligible program that give you the 3 years of getting selected to secure your work visa. So those are like the 2-year extensions, very important when you compare with other maybe MBA programs that they are under a business school, that they might only be eligible to sponsor you for like 1 year of OPT. So that is even more tighten the timeline for you to apply for a job and to land a job. So this is definitely a big pro for this program. And also for people who's really interested in risk management area, like there are other risk management masters out there, but Columbia's have a great credential and, and the broad risk category coverage, as financial risk and strategic risk, operational risk, for people who like from other field before, to gradually like ramping up to land to the stage that, oh, I understand, and I decided that this risk area is where I want to focus on. So this program is very helpful for those areas.
Absolutely. Yuna, is there anything?
I would say not from personal experience, as I'm not an international student, but my friends who've done the program, I would say the biggest recurring theme is that even if you do not plan to stay within the US, you can leverage your degree at Columbia in other countries very well. We have a great reputation. We learn, I would say, what is probably best in class risk management here. So I think you could leverage our degree in Columbia very well, even if you were to work in Asia, in Latin America, it would be valuable.
Yeah, I think the 3 of you covered pretty much everything. I think we have time for one more question, which we'll just answer quickly. The question is, as an international student, we're not allowed to work in the first 2 semesters. What would you suggest we do outside of school in the first 2 semesters?
I can take that one. So firstly, I would just fact check that. I think you can work from your 2nd semester. But again, like circumstances can be different for different people. But in addition to like an internship, you could always take part in these competitions. So like Tanima mentioned earlier, right, like the fall semester has the Greater Good Challenge, I believe. So that is definitely a time-consuming activity. So in addition to your coursework, you can definitely, participate in that. And then if you have the time, definitely just spend it networking, make the trip have a cup of coffee with someone you aspire to work with, or a company or a professional that you want to be a part of. So spend that time networking, because if you do think that you have some time to do that, like, this is the best time to do it, right? It's never too early, it's never too late. So those would be my two things if you can't do an internship. But if you could do an internship, then definitely, with the admissions office, like with the administrative affairs office, the library, like I think there are multiple opportunities within Columbia that you could intern. And that again, it just helps you grow your network. So
for me, I think it applies to me that I also could work in the first 2 semesters. I think these rules apply to people who's have their first degree in the US, that they've never have a prior degree in the US. They need to have at least like 2 semesters of being a full-time student, then they were able to apply for jobs and everything. I think if you just run out of besides those competitions and networking that Judy mentioned that you can do, if you just you can find jobs in those 2 semesters, and then to actually do it in your 3rd semester. This is the best way, because you are still doing officially an internship between your semesters and before you complete the program. So this still count, and after you get back to the program to complete your 3rd semester, you can consider take your time. You don't have to graduate at like exactly the after the 3rd semester, or even if you graduated and that is still considered you did an internship, and then after that you can still do like short-term arrangement, like contractor role, or gradually until you land to your ultimate full-time job. And I think there are, correct me if I'm wrong, for on-campus work, like those internship with SPS, like those on-campus roles, there are a lot of risk-related work that you can do. Those are allowed even for the 1st semester. And for volunteer work that you don't have any sort of compensation received, I believe those are allowed to do without without those CPT official CPT application. So those volunteer work that you can definitely consider. And there are like school projects you can include it, and there are external company projects that there are like project that they share on their company website that they encourage students to participate and to complete those projects to showcase to the employer. Those are helpful as well. So I mean, 2 semesters is not long, for your career exploration, job search, networking, and balance the time with your coursework. There's a lot to do. And plan your timeline well, like starting from, I know this company that I really want to work with, they start their official hiring, let's say like September 2022, then I plan my programs, look like maybe what do I do in summer, maybe this is a study term, and maybe I plan my work term in this in spring, and then like that. So plan your timeline and how you want to organize your study term and work term.
Yeah, thank you so much for that detailed answer. I had a few points, but I think you covered everything. And once again, it's almost time. So I really want to thank our panelists for coming here, spending this hour and answering all of these questions in such detail. Thank you so much to the organizers of the panel series, and also to Bob for being here, and everybody. Thank you for coming. I think this has been a really good session. Thank you and goodbye.